Hello, I'm Nick Matthews with the Office of Advancement, and I am joined now by DePaul students Noel Green and Michael Koenig. Noel is an undergraduate studying UX design and one of the managers of the Idea Realization Lab, aka the IRL, which is in the Daily building on the DePaul Loop campus. Michael is a graduate student earning his MFA in film and television and the manager of the IRL 2 in the Schmidt Academic Center on the Lincoln Park campus. Thank you both for joining me today.
Thank you.
Thank you for having us.
Sure. So Noel, first question for you. What exactly is the Idea Realization Lab? What is its mission?
Yeah, so that's a great question. It is what the name is. So it's basically a space where anyone can come in and make, whatever they set their minds to. We've got a wood shop, we've got laser cutters, we've got 3D printers, there's screen printing, literally anything you can think of. And people just come in and make stuff. And our goal is to, break down barriers, financial barriers, lack of access to things that people can come in and they can make whatever they want that they may not normally have access to. We also give alumni, free access to all of our equipment in here. So they're welcome as well.
Awesome. So Michael, who are the typical users? Is there a typical user of the lab?
So there's not really like typical users. You will see more common people. So usually people that are associated with some kind of craft major. So we do see a lot of film students, things like that. But what is so unique about the space itself is that it's not a school locked. You don't have to be taking this class to be able to use the space. It's a space for anyone to be able to come in and use anytime we're open and to try new things. It's a place to just come experiment. It's like, I don't know how to use this machine. People can come in and ask questions and take one of our workshops to be able to learn the basics of how to actually operate everything in our lab. So it's a very open space. And while we do see you do generally see more students from hands-on majors, it is open to anyone. And you do see the majors that it's like, we've had business students come in and it's like, I want to make something now. So it's a very open space to allow anyone from any major, any walk of life to be able to come in and use it.
Right. And because some of those things can be intimidating, right? And so the idea is to sort of remove that fear, that sort of apprehension that somebody might have with trying something new.
Exactly.
Yeah. So the IRL is considered a makerspace. What does that term mean exactly? Where did that come from? And sort of what are makerspaces? Noel.
So makerspaces have actually been around for a really long time. I don't want to give a date to it, but they basically a lot of other colleges and stuff have instituted makerspaces in their environments. Especially when I was looking for a college, I specifically wanted to go to a college that had a makerspace in it. But it's literally just, environments that people can make things. Not every makerspace is going to have a 3D printer. Not every makerspace is going to be open to the public. I know that the Harold Washington Library, I'm pointing because I can see it. At the Harold Washington Library, they have a makerspace that's open to community members. So it's not just an education exclusive type of deal, but they are pretty cool.
So you were familiar with makerspaces before DePaul. Tell me a little bit about that. What was your experience?
Yeah, so I originally was going to go into CSI kind of stuff. So I was looking at Wichita State, and we went to go visit Wichita State. They had a makerspace, and it's in this huge, multi-million-dollar annex. And people they brought in their motorcycles, and they were working on their motorcycles in the IRL, in their version of the IRL. Which was really cool. And they because it is Wichita State has a lot of engineering and stuff. Their engineers use that space to build all sorts of stuff. And it was just really cool that, also just like DePaul, people don't have to pay anything to use it. And Wichita State was also, you were able to come in if you're a community member. So community members could pay $20 and they could come in and just use all the materials that they had accessible. It was the coolest thing ever. So I just when I was picking out a college, I knew that I wanted something like that. I just didn't want to live in Wichita.
There you go. Yeah. A little more to do in Chicago, maybe.
Yes, a little bit.
Yeah. So Michael, what typically without a makerspace, without the IRL at DePaul specifically, what are people's what options are available to people? The barriers can be pretty high, right? Where would other people go to find these things?
So there's a couple other places. There's places around Chicago that you find it, but a lot of them are paid membership places where you have to pay a premium, $20, Wichita, or even upwards of, I've seen places of like 100, $150 a month to be able to come in and actually use their equipment. So like, that's one of the big barriers if you're just looking for a space to use to interact with other people, because a lot of them are used for like entrepreneurs and stuff to be like prototype their businesses. So it's more of a business environment versus just kind of a community making stuff that you would want to use at home or whatever. And then if you wanted to actually like get into one of these things at home, the entry to barrier is more or less the price of the machine and the knowledge to actually be able to use that machine. So the easiest one to see is like, you have the two comparisons. You've got 3D printing, which now has become a lot more common in people's households, versus wood shop. Like 3D printing, someone could in theory go out on Amazon, buy a 3D printer and learn how to use it. There's a lot of information stuff out there now, but so that's a fairly, in a sense, low barrier to entry in that there's a lot of information and it's fairly accessible and easy to use besides the barrier and just the time investment. But woodshop, on the other hand, is a very high barrier of entry because the machines and the space you actually need to operate those machines are fairly extensive. So we kind of have the ability to do both. We have something that someone could learn how to do at our space and then pick up one of their own and bring home. And we have the stuff that you wouldn't necessarily have the space or power consumption and all that other stuff that goes into it to be able to operate those machines. But we now have the ability to offer that to people coming into the space.
Yeah, it's great. So for both of you guys, I'll start with Noel, because you guys offer workshops. It's both like, hey, the doors are open and you can come in and try stuff, but you also host like real workshops. People register, they come, and there's a little more, structure to it. I'm going to show you this, that, and you do some teaching. So Noel, what would you say are some of the more popular workshops that the IRL offers? And then what's maybe one of your other favorites, like a hidden gem? I don't know.
For sure. So the popular ones right now, they're 3D printing. So we have two different major forms of 3D printing. So we print with resin and we print with plastic. Those are our major ones, and people come in to do that all the time. 3D printer is one of those things that like when I say 3D printer, you're like, oh, super fancy. But it literally like takes like 10 minutes to learn how to use it, and then you can go 3D print whatever you want, which is really awesome. Another one, wood shop, is gaining a lot of popularity, especially like in the city. It's kind of like hard to, bring in wood and like that kind of stuff, but people are coming in and making smaller things and that kind of stuff. And we've had people come in to make tables, all sorts of stuff. I'm trying to think, Michael, what's the third one is it sewing that is gaining popularity?
At IRO2, we've had a lot of sewing, but a lot of ours, it's the screen printing and vinyl cutting. So the vinyl cutting heat transfer. So we've offered in two different formats because vinyl cutting is used for both. So both workshops teach both vinyl cutting and then either heat transfer or screen printing, which is great for any kind of textiles. So if you had a shirt idea, so Noelle was kind of showing it off with our apron there. If you had a design that you want to make, you can cut it out in whatever color vinyl you want and put it onto a piece of clothing, or make a stencil to then be able to put ink on. So a lot of people really enjoy that. But one of the fun things that we've started last quarter, we were in person, was these, we call them Fun Friday workshops, which is basically taking kind of a combination of different machines or skills and doing like a mini project. So one of the ones that people loved was the cloud lamps. We took a little bit of electronics, hot glue, and they made a lamp that looked like a cloud. So they played around with little basic electronics, and then they got to actually do hands-on and make a craft with it. So those are kind of like, we offer them every other week, usually at both spaces, and it's kind of a fun craft that incorporates usually more than one machine, or maybe just it's a fun activity to come and do. So
those have been really cool because we've made we did neon. We're going to be doing neon lights. We're going to be doing pajama pants. We've done like DIY like card making before with like foil transfer, which is really cool. Like they're like these really cool projects that you might see on Pinterest, but not have the tools to be able to do in your house. But you come here and you can do it all for free. So those are really cool.
Yeah, and I think we have a couple bookbinding, like journal making, so you can like laser cut the top of your journal and make your own like custom journals. And another one that we've seen a lot of, like we see a lot of people that play D&D and stuff. we're even working on a dice making, be able to make custom D&D dice. So if you had a design or wanted some weird coloring, like you can learn to make your own dice. So it's basically whatever our staff can think of something fun to do in the space. We give them the tools and allow them to learn how to do it and teach other people.
Yeah, I mean, it's as you're rattling off all of these different things that like, where do all these people come from? You guys, like you staff, like, how is this just a crew of people who have all this different skill set and you all sort of like put things together, and is that sort of the community in a little way?
Yeah, that's one of the things that we pride ourselves in is, having a diverse staff. We bring in everybody from different walks of life. There's different ages. Like I think our oldest staff member is 45 and our youngest is 19. They've got all sorts of different majors. We've got a business major. We've got like some like geology majors. And then we do have like animation majors and things that you might like expect. And like a technical space, but we just have all sorts of really cool things and really cool people. So.
Yeah. And it's not so much they might not even know how to do it. So like they might not know how to do it, but they have an interest. It's like, hey, I want to learn how to do it. They jump in, and part of just working here is to be able to experiment and learn a new skill. So like the neon lights, was it or no, it was the textile, the electronics with the textiles, the conductive thread. It's a thread that you can start to run an electronic current through, but you can weave it into clothing. We didn't have anyone that knows how to do that, but they're teaching themselves how to actually use it and to be able to develop a workshop to teach others how to use it. So it's not just, oh, I know how to do this, I want to teach people. It's, I want to learn how to do this, so I'm going to take some of my time and learn how to do this so I can develop something to teach somebody else how to do it.
That's one of our big ones. We had a staff member who saw on TikTok those like rug making guns. So we're like, heck, like we'll buy a rug making gun. So he built an entire frame, bought the gun, and now, we're cranking out rugs like no other. It's awesome.
In the early stages of the pandemic, the IRL was part of a collaborative effort to manufacture PPE for first responders and medical professionals. How did that opportunity arise, and what was it like?
Yeah, so one of the cool things about the lab is that the administrators that work with our lab, they're geniuses, to be completely honest. They're always, finding different ways that we can help the community and that kind of stuff. So they actually put together this group. It was the Illinois Personal Protective Equipment Group Network, I think. And we worked with all sorts of different, outside communities. We worked with like ThoughtCon, like people from ThoughtCon. We worked from people from Dremel, with Bosch, like all that kind of stuff to, make these masks. We shipped out 3D printers. We shipped out supplies to make fabric masks. We worked with Louise's Sewing Club. We just found all of these connections, like anywhere that we could. So we could, 3D print these masks, make this like sew together masks. All sorts of things. And then we ended up delivering all of these masks to different communities. And the IRL had a hand in orchestrating, getting materials to different places and actually like building the actual products. So it was, it did take over our lives for a couple of months, which was kind of a really cool experience.
Yeah, to kind of go off that, it's like, so we have our facilitator, Jay Margulis. He's developed and started up so many different makerspaces and helped people start makerspaces. So he had all these connections out the cities of other makerspaces and maker communities that we were able to tap into. So we tapped into them, and then they tapped into the people that went to their space. So we ended up basically building these different nodes around the city that were basically, the node central is usually a staff member from DePaul, one of our staff here. Basically, we were the kind of the hub for us buying materials and then getting it out to those different members of the area. And then those nodes supplied area, like actually the actual finished products to hospitals, nursing homes, emergency sites, all across Illinois, basically. And it was a huge opportunity to be able to do something with our time, make our time productive with our remote work. So with us being able to actually manage out, like, we went and removed every machine from the lab that was anywhere useful for making any kind of PPE. Sewing machines, even the laminator. We removed the laminator to make the the actual face piece because you couldn't buy plastic. So we took laminate sheets and laminated them and punched them. So it's like figuring out different creative ways to use all the equipment we had to be able to provide this need that we needed at that time. So
something you guys do is called the Quarterly Design Challenge. What is that exactly, and who can participate in it?
So the Quarterly Design Challenge is something that we try to do every quarter. Basically, we give basically a line of parameters. Usually, it's a very broad thing of parameters, and basically anyone that is any kind of affiliate with the DePaul can sign up to do it. And you can basically, it's a project that you can work on throughout the entire quarter. Like one of the quarters we did was something wearable. It's super simple, super broad. It could have been they made some grand dress, or they could make something simple as earrings. So it can be a very wide range of things that people submit. And basically towards the end of the quarter, it's usually about last 2 or 3 weeks, we open a submission pool, and basically you will submit images and a short description of what you've made, and our staff will then vote on their favorites, and the top few will then get gift cards, usually to Amazon or some other place that they usually can buy some kind of maybe Blick, places that they can then buy supplies to be able to continue crafts, basically.
So for each of you, what does the lab mean to you? What role does it play in your lives?
So I think both of us are kind of in the same boat on this one. Not to, be extra, but like the lab is a pretty significant part of at least my life. I work here, my friends are here. When you work collaboratively with coworkers, a lot of times you become friends. And so that's been really cool just to have the support of, my teammates, working. And so like, it's just become, and you work with mentors and you find all sorts of resources and stuff. So it just becomes, not just something that you go to work towards, but you also, it's your friends, it's your family, and that's really cool.
Yeah. To kind of go off that, it's like, I don't know how many people I've become friends with just working through the lab or just being in the lab. And it's like you meet all sorts of people that you normally might have not met from different colleges, from different walks of life, and even the professors that we work with. So we work fairly heavily with professors, and those professors, you get to know them and you start to help them kind of maybe advance their classes, make it a little bit more interesting for people to come in and be able to help them do something different that they might have not even thought of. And those kind of relationships help build kind of that network that you're always trying to build some kind of network, no matter what job you work in. But it's a very wide range of things that you can try to do. So networking with your peers, networking with professors, even outside people that might want to be like, hey, we want to take a tour of the space. You can do that as well. So it's just a huge part that it's like, yeah, I got it for a job, and then it's kind of expanded into something a lot more than I expected it to.
You can register for an event or a workshop at the IRL by visiting their website at irl.depaul.edu. And you can keep up with their good work by following them on Instagram at IRL_DPU. Thank you both for your time today.
Thank you.